I haven't heard from him. Sure, I'm sure he is. It's just a couple minutes. But I think we've got more and we could probably get started.
Like 6, yeah.
Yeah, just have to count every time. Yeah, if you guys are ready, I think we're ready to get started. So I guess we've got a new face in the room, so maybe we can all go around. If you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll introduce ourselves.
Okay, yeah. So my name's Chelsea. This is like my first time being in any kind of capacity like this. So I'm really excited. I majored in political science and public health and stuff like when I was younger. So I've always had an interest in all of this kind of stuff, and public art is just, I've really come to find that just like the arts in general is just a passion of mine. We live right on Breckenridge, right down Rodney. So constantly with my little son, he's 2, he just turned 2 this weekend. We're just always, seeing all the murals, all the artwork and everything. And it's just really great. And so I'm just really excited to be able to be here and share this with you guys. So yeah.
Oh, it's great to have you.
Yeah. I've lived here for since 2016. My husband grew up in Townsend and I grew up in Fargo and we moved here. So yeah, it's about almost 10 years or 8 years now. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm Amanda Reese.
Okay.
I've lived in Helena 8 years now. Yeah, it's all starting to meld together.
It does blur.
Yeah, but yeah, and I'm a graphic designer in town, and then I was involved with some of the Rodney projects.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, a couple years ago.
I'm Ramsey. I work at the Myrna Used to work at the Holter. Now I work at the Myrna and I've been on the committee since 2020, late 2020.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That. Yeah. So I'm in my last year of this term, and I have 3 kids. I like public art.
Yeah.
Mine was looking at me, so I'm Bridget. I'm the facilities manager for the city.
And you're who I was emailing with?
Yes.
I'm Helen Paulson, and what I do is retired.
Very nice.
But I've been involved with art all my life and a number of years because of raising a family and having to support a family. A lot of my art is put on show. Retirement is going to open that area for me again. It's nice to meet you.
Oh, I'm Paige Myers. I am not on the board. I'm just poking my nose in for Helena Citizens Council.
Perfect. Hi, Paige.
And I'm Jeannie Morgan.
Yeah.
I
think it's been a little more.
I just really like art.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not here.
I'm Jenny Stapp, and I just really like art too. I think I've been on the committee maybe since 2019, and this is actually going to be my last meeting.
Oh,
wow.
I'm moving to East Helena, so maybe we can get a public art committee going in East Helena, or at least continue working with the county.
But yeah, so I have to step down. But nice,
today.
nice to meet you too.
Cool.
I'm Max.
Hi, Max.
I'm a local artist, musician, man about town. I think this is my official job description. Yeah.
Chelsea.
Chelsea, nice to meet you, Chelsea.
Very cool. Thanks, guys. I feel welcome.
Yeah. But with that, we could probably dive into our first agenda item of minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review those?
Yes. I saw one discrepancy. It said in the first vote to approve the annual report for delivery, your vote is recorded as nay, but it says the motion carried 6-0. So I wasn't here. I'm not sure which is the
I know, I was like, did I deny my own annual report?
I work in the car.
Was there anything else that anyone caught? I moved to approve with that correction.
I second that motion.
All right.
minutes are approved with one typo adjustment. With that, staff reports.
I have nothing to report.
Well, that's nice. It is. Yeah. All right, well, with that, we're just cruising right along. Election of secretary. Yeah, coming up for some time. And I think it was, gosh, we first talked about this a couple months ago now. But is that a position that anyone here kind of is showing any interest in, or would be interested in serving as that in that role? Do you? That'd be wonderful.
I would enthusiastically nominate Jeannie, even if she didn't want to do it.
I would enthusiastically second that nomination.
Awesome. And that's probably something we take a vote on, right? Yeah. All right. So yeah, all in favor of Jeannie Worden? Oh, public comment. Yes. Is there any public comment?
Do you want to serve as secretary?
Sure.
Okay.
With that, all in favor of electing Jeannie Worden to the role of secretary, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Jeannie. Thanks, Jeannie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So Ginny, I will get with you. I think the commission is working on putting some things together to help you with the minutes and things like that.
Yeah.
So we can go over that outside of the meeting.
Thank you so much again. All right, and then community collab RFP draft. Something we've been working on the last few months. But I would like maybe for you to kind of take the helm on this.
Yeah.
And then I believe that the draft is just the same as last time. I just included one comment for how we would maybe want to go through the process. And I've got it pulled up here on my screen, so if we do make any edits, I can record those as we go.
This looks awesome. Thank you for putting it on the letterhead and kind of organizing it a little bit. So I had a couple of questions. So I think this is an important process to develop just for transparency and equity. And equal opportunity for folks to come up with projects and encourage our community to come up with more projects. And, allow us and the city a good view into what's going on.
I suppose we should maybe give a little bit of background too. So we currently have funds up to about $5,000 that we're looking for potential community collaborations to use before the end of this fiscal year. So we're kind of just trying to come up with an avenue to find the right project.
Gotcha. To spend the money before it expires.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, and as an aside, not on topic, is there a way that we can get Chelsea a copy of the strategic plan so that she has a good way of just orienting to the scope of some of our projects and kind of see what our mission is?
Right, I kind of looked on the Facebook page and I saw, but it wasn't, it was pretty broad. It wasn't too, so this will be
Yeah, but we do have kind of a rough outline of the next 3 to 5 years, I think, sort of mapped out and kind of a rhythm of what we do, and that sort of brings in recruitment, but also keeps some projects going and leaves some room for creativity and new stuff to come into.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. Sorry to distract. So this is a great document, I think, and a great start. And then also I am concerned about, well, not concerned, but just some of the questions that I have that I think that we as a group should keep an eye on is how to keep the red tape low, because it's a small amount of money and we are requiring that folks have, or that applicants have matching funds from other organizations, which means that we will very likely be the minority investor in whatever the project is. And so just wondering how that's best accomplished if we do an annual call and do like one jury session, or if we accept things on a rolling basis and when we find a project that we're enthusiastic about and the city supports, just go for it. Do people have, and I also wanted to know, so it says that the money needs to be distributed by June 31st. And is there a deadline on when that, like, we have to, or the city needs to pay out those funds by a certain point for our budgeting process, correct? Do the recipients have to spend it within a certain time frame? Or are they required to have project completion within a certain time frame in order to receive these funds?
I wouldn't think so.
No, it just is
it
important when they get paid.
Right,
Gotcha.
yeah, and it depends on how you set it up, if it's a donation, if it's a reimbursement. You know, like TIF, for example, is reimbursed, we have to prove you've spent the money to get the money. You don't have to do it that way, you can do it differently. If it's just a donation like we did with, say, the 6 14-year-old, where we just gave them money.
Yeah.
There wasn't any requirement. So it's kind of
So
like
after
easier.
that project and with this new wave of doing things, does the city have an opinion about that? About whether it is a donation or whether it is a reimbursement and they need receipts and things?
I wouldn't think so.
Great. That's awesome. Cool. Those are some of my questions of like knowing that if there are matching funds, then other grantors are going to have some much more strict requirements. And so I think the more fluid we're able to be is wonderful. Oh, there's a little typo on the heading. I
Just noticed that.
And also
Or-
June doesn't have 31 days.
I was just gonna.
I never learned.
I was like,
knuckle
30 days
trick.
hasn't never able to. Okay.
I only know because my daughter's birthday is June 30th. So I remember that. It's like the next month starts out.
It's too funny, yeah, and I also noticed too, I think in the header, I spelled community wrong. So. Just that.
At the last meeting, we talked about the point you made about equity, like it sort of seems like a call where everybody has a chance to have, you know, a one process for selection is more inclusive to the application process than a rolling process. But at the same time, kind of the donation method, you know, we identify a project that we are inspired by and can make a donation. It feels like it has a lower barrier to access.
Yeah.
So it almost feels like there's a kind of a push-pull.
It
like,
kind of is. And the other part about having like one jury date is that you're gonna get a ton of applicants and this is a very small pot of
right,
money.
exactly.
And so artists aren't going to benefit as much. So if you have a rolling basis, you're more likely to jump on an exciting project and propose it. And that recipient will get, I mean, you might have 2 or 3 to choose from instead of 10 or 12. And then deciding how to divvy up those funds, and everybody gets $250
Right.
if we like them all,
Right.
which just isn't enough to make a difference in a project.
Yeah.
So I think there's benefits to both sides.
I would recommend at least maybe for the first year or 2 going with the rolling process just to see.
What comes up.
What
Because there's
comes from
also
it.
like how, you know, it is a big like it's meant to support larger scale projects.
Yeah, I think it would be more beneficial to the community to support a bunch of small projects, like a whole bunch of $100 gifts
Really?
for small projects, because then, and those are usually time sensitive, you know, if a kid is putting something together
Right.
and then they don't have a year to wait,
No,
I think that's,
they're very likely will have about 3 months between proposing, jurying, and then.
yeah. So potentially a year and 3 months.
And I think too, a big
That's-
challenge with this is just with the timing and all of trying to think of how I totally just lost my train of thought, sorry.
Well, we were, like in terms of what we have front loaded in our year, in terms of budget, and then all these RFPs, and we have other jurying to do.
Oh, I remember what I was gonna say too. I think in this particular instance, it has to go before the commission. which is, you know, why we don't wanna have to come to them every month with.
We don't want a bunch of small ones.
Yeah, I think in this instance, just for like streamlining the process, and then I think in future budget requests, if we wanted to explore this again, then we could really line out all of those things beforehand, you know, so that hopefully it wouldn't have to.
Yeah.
Go
Well,
through
and maybe we
many
set a
layers of
minimum,
approval at
like
the time.
maybe we decide to set a minimum amount that is distributed, so like we won't grant less than $500 or something like that, so that we know that the money will have somewhat of an impact. More than buying people coffee on the job, you know. I mean, that's an example, that's not meant to sound sarcastic, but because that's important.
Maybe a biannual or quarterly.
Quarterly sounds like a reasonable amount of time to look at applications,
Yeah.
projects, proposals.
Give us, and every 3 months we get to
Yeah.
look at some proposals.
Yeah.
That seems comfortable.
Yeah, and I'm wondering too how we can kind of.
Does that put undue administrative burden on the city though? To come up with slide presentations like every 3 months and go through selection processes? That's a lot of admin.
Yeah, and we really want to try to avoid that if we can, especially knowing that we're gonna be approving the dumpster artists, you know, we're going through that as well as
Yeah.
like the Lindale Tunnel. And wondering when we might want to schedule this, so that way it's not a 5-hour meeting.
Mhm. We could make it super clear that they have to submit all their materials on a form so that we can just look at the form instead of having to make Bridget create a new PowerPoint every time.
Yeah, that we asked for
And
a
if it-
PDF with all
And
of
if they
these
don't
marks.
have this thing just right, we don't even look at it.
I would personally be more in favor of an annual review. I think, which isn't uncommon,
Mhm.
you know.
That would encourage larger projects.
And
'Cause of
people would
the
have time to
$500
come up
ask,
with
they're
stuff
not gonna wait
and
for
go
it.
out and fundraise and factor.
Mhm.
Yeah, and knowing too that in any other year that the committee would want to explore this, they'd have a lot more room to plan out that timeline ahead of time.
Yeah.
Which I think would be nice, because right now we're kind of under the barrel of, you know, over many months to get this done. Yeah, I'm just trying to think, I'm thinking of this like kind of terms of this kind of timeline and process for review, how we might want to hard line all these things that we're kind of talking about.
I think I would recommend adding like a $1,000 minimum so that we're not distributing to more than 5 artists. That's just my
I like
opinion,
that.
and I'm open to like edit some discussion on that.
I do like that in the interest of reducing red tape and administrative duties.
And like helping us just be really like efficient with our jurying so that we're not hemming and hawing over how to split it 10 ways, right? It's just not an efficient use of time and not an efficient use of funds for artists either. And it's like saying like $1,000 to $5,000, and then we have the option of being like, oh, we got a banger of a project, like we're really all in on this one, you know. And then placing the jury review with what do you think, a 3-month lag time between review and a vote to presentation to the commission, and then going through that process and coming back. In terms of like submission in, money out, how long is that process potentially?
I would say you could do it within 2 months,
2 months.
if you time it right with the meetings.
Okay. So if
I mean, you could
we're generous
realistically
and
get it
said
done
like,
in a
look,
month.
within 3 months.
We don't want to promise that.
No,
Yeah.
it wouldn't promise that, but I mean,
Overpromise, underdeliver.
yeah, but you could, you know, Zoom and select them all in one meeting here.
Yeah.
And then we could have it slated for the next commission meeting, which meet 2 weeks typically.
Mhm.
And then if they approve it, then we just issue the money. So it could be quick. Yeah.
But if we gave ourselves a 3-month window, that would be healthy enough to like, for any error to happen.
Yeah, in the chance we don't have a quorum.
Right,
Or
that's the
something,
other
then-
thing, like you have to have a
Yeah.
quorum for these chapters.
Yeah, I think last year we had 2 months where we didn't have a quorum back to back
Right,
at one point.
yeah.
So that would put it at 3 months again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm wondering too, I was hoping to have that timeline, Bridget, you had sent me pulled up, but I left my phone at home. I'm just wondering with, say, like the Lendale Tunnel and like the dumpster murals, like where can kind of this, where would you think that this could kind of fit in without it being too much going on at once for as far as administration for you goes?
Well, as far as city staff, the collaboration project's not gonna be a whole lot for us. But that's me making the assumption that you're not blindly reviewing them like you are a typical call for artist. There's some, I mean, I know that we kind of use the tip example and I've referenced that a few times, like they know who that is and what they want. And the ones that you've done in the past, like the Rodney Street and the 6th Ward mural, you knew what it was, who it was, and so I guess my assumption was it'd be similar to that.
I think so. I think we want more information.
Yeah, so that takes a lot of
Yeah.
work out of us, just really forwarding it on, and then we're not actually having to do the project, so.
Yeah, right.
That's the big part for us, it's the actual project.
Yeah.
So I would think that I would probably pay more attention to your meeting and what you have agenda-wise. So I know that we're doing Lindale artist selection in January and dumpster mural selection in February.
Okay, perfect. I think that's what I needed, which I think then would that make March?
Could we do a
We could do that, yeah.
Yeah.
March for the micro grant?
Yeah, that might be an interesting meeting if, depending on how many folks, apply.
So that would mean, well, okay, so then the deadline to submit would be February then.
Yes.
I do have a question, just as a point of clarification, maybe. So you have the community collaboration budget for 5,000, then you have the opportunity project for 1,000. What was your guys's? I guess.
Oh, maybe we need to set the minimum at
Because-
2,500 then, so that,
Yeah, because I don't know what, I guess my assumption was that the big one was, it was a $5,000
One
award to
time.
somebody like we did in the past, and the $1,000 was a $1,000 one. I think you can do it however you want. I just wanted to know what the difference was.
Yeah, maybe that's a good thing for us to clarify, because I think I was also operating under I was also operating under the assumption of, 1,000, 5,000, if the right projects kind of came forth, but I think.
I'd be in
something-
favor of that too. Like, I just didn't want to get under, like,
Totally.
I don't
Yeah.
want to be giving away pennies, I just.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe something that we can clarify, it'd be like $1,000 minimum up to, say, $5,000. Because then.
I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea to just cut it in half and be like, all right, at the most 2. Like 2,500 as the minimum
Maximum,
for
so then we've got 2 grants.
2 grants going
potentially.
out. At the very most, or 1.
Sorry, I'm trying to.
Sorry,
trying to
instead of
follow.
setting this minimum amount
Of 1,000.
of 1,000, set it at 2,500. So that then at the most, we're selecting 2 artists from this pool to receive these funds. And then we also have the $1,000, so that then it's tiered.
Okay, so maybe we would say something like for quantities of, say, 1,000.
So you could either get $2,500 or 5,000
Or 5,000.
and take away the $1,000.
Okay, so just take it away entirely. But we have that opportunity budget though.
Is that in this same budget? That's a different.
I think it would fall under the same kind of, I think it could fall under the same avenue. Because it was basically just outlining the
I gotcha.
opportunity. And so basically, I think this might be the right avenue for,
I see.
for finding that.
So then this is a pool of $6,000 with $1,000 set aside. And then $5,000 that can be distributed either as 2 micro grants of 2,500 or 1 lump sum.
Is that opportunity grant? It's supposed to be collaborative, or just that, like their project costs $1,000, they don't have to come up with anything,
You don't have to match that one.
because I think the other one they have to match, right?
And I guess we could consider, match of labor, if things like that, there's different ways you can consider what that match is, depending, as long as they kind of outline what the, where the money's going and what the costs are. Yeah, because it would be interesting, say, if we get, one really good project for 2,500 and one for 5,000, then we were forced to choose, kind of thing,
Yeah.
Either bigger or,
Or can we say we choose to give 2,500 and 2,500 or prorate it? Say you've been approved for $3,000. And this other one's been approved for something else.
Right.
Yeah, I think for this one, I would be more inclined to just making it the 2 lump sums, just because
Just
we have
1,000
to
and
go
5,000.
to the
Yeah.
commission and then present to the commission, just trying to kind of reduce that administrative workload.
Yeah,
Okay.
then we don't have to go through a budget now.
Right, and then in
Serious.
future years, like I know Missoula does something like a micro artists for grants. And if that's something ahead of time, if we really outlined that it's like, hey, we want this much money and we're gonna then distribute it, then we wouldn't have to necessarily, if it's approved, go through this same avenue in the future. Which would then hopefully make more opportunities for like smaller projects and local artists.
So should we bill it as 2 $2,500 grants and one $1,000 micro grant?
I'd say 5,000 and 1,000.
I agree.
Oh,
Yeah,
one big and one little.
I think that makes sense. I think so. And then it really kind of makes it simple for people, whether
Yeah.
they know if their project's in the wheelhouse or not.
Love it.
I mean,
Great, and I think with this timeline too, we have time to, they take these notes, make these adjustments, and then at our next meeting, we can present the final. And then we can then from there make a plan of like, okay, it's released, after that meeting at some point and figure out how we might want to, what the promotion might be for that.
So something actionable now is then to take those numbers, plug them into this existing form and just revamp some of the language on the form that you guys put together so that it reflects those numbers.
Yeah, I think.
yeah,
Bring
and
that to
then
the
we
next meeting.
hand it out to you all first. So then this would go to city approval and then kick back for an RFP. Is that how that goes? Okay.
Cool. Yeah, I think this plan kind of gives everything ample time too, which I really like. March, and then it still gives April, May, 3 months, as long as everything kind of keeps moving and we don't have two months of no quorum.
Yeah.
But
Well, and what'll happen, so like, say in February, you don't get a quorum, or we don't get a quorum. That just means that, well, the March meeting is gonna be 3 hours long. Because you got a lot to get through, and there's not an option to miss it, or, like, it does give you a teensy bit of wiggle room. But
yeah, I feel like we don't have the same kind of problems with reaching quorum that we
no,
once
people
did.
are
Yeah.
enthusiastic.
We're all doing so great.
Do we need to make a motion on that?
I don't believe that we would for the time being. I think just this discussion alone has been super helpful for just
Cool.
finalizing these last little bits.
We'll just have the item on the agenda again next week,
Yeah,
revisit.
totally. And then that way it's, we don't have to fine tune anything from there. We can
Right.
just.
Can we approve the draft with these edits right now, and then it can just go?
I suppose we could. Is it possible to edit that PDF from there or?
You don't have to physically edit it, as
Oh,
long
okay.
as we have
Just
in the
with
notes
these
what the
numbers.
edits are,
Okay.
then.
I move we approve this community collaboration draft with the updated numbers of a $1,000 grant and a $5,000.
Second,
Second, and then before we take a vote, is there any public comment?
Just one question. If for some reason the board in the future decides to amend it and they like more flexibility, would they have the ability to amend this grant process? Or would this be set in stone?
I think this would be set in stone for this year's proposal for it, but then next year, there would be an opportunity to revamp all the bylaw or guidelines on it. Does that sound accurate? I'm guessing.
Yeah, because even still, I think the next time we present a budget, we'd be planning for 2026 at that point too. So it'd probably be the soonest that this could happen again, is my thought. But then all of the pieces are in place to make it hopefully really easy for whoever's on that committee at that time, which might be just you. Yeah. I think this is great. Thank you so much.
We'll see how it goes.
Work.
We might adjust it after.
Great, all right, so all in favor of approving the community collaboration application with the edits of changing to June 30th, 2024, finalizing the timeline and process for review, as well as a few typo edits. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, consider it moved. Great, thanks everyone. All right, dumpster murals RFP input. Exciting.
I've looked at the dumpster too many times today.
Trash.
Yeah, it's so trash. So I just put the draft together today, so I apologize. Nothing was in the packet. Emily's gonna pull it up here for you. So I guess I'm just open to any comments or suggestions that you all would have that you think would be important to have in the RFP that we would mention to potential artists, especially any of you that have been involved with the previous dumpster projects in town. You can feel free to read through it if you like. It's really not very long. It's pretty simple.
And in this RFP, are we gonna outline exactly which dumpsters they are?
No,
Okay.
we are not. We had also talked about, I think in your annual report, you mentioned 5. During budget, we talked about it being 4 or 5. I think we still have to be able to make sure we leave enough funds to afford the supplies that we're going to provide, such as the primer, the sealer, the tarps to go over the parking lot, things like that, because it's not that we have $5,000 to pay artists, we have $5,000 to the entire of the project. So I did leave it still flexible in whether we do 4 or 5. So I put up to 5, which is actually what it said in the traffic signal box RFP as well.
That's
I had
smart
put up
language.
to.
Because we might not get things donated that we're hoping for.
Right, or we may decide we only like 3, so let's only do 3 or
Absolutely.
Yeah.
so.
Right.
Can we scroll down and see the bottom of it too?
In that line where the cursor is, it says consists of 2 phases, but then 3 are listed.
Yes. Good. I have not.
No, it's fine.
Read this part all yet, but good.
No
It
judgment.
makes it easier for me.
So it says group painting events that we have the 4th or the 11th.
11th.
So would they have, say, that Saturday and Sunday?
No, it would just be that Saturday. Because we're supposed to prime them ahead of time. You think they do 2 days?
Yeah.
I think they do.
Okay.
Just with the raw meat ones, they were kind of even, some of them started Friday night, kind of out of concern of getting them finished. I think 2 would be, if we could do Saturday, Sunday, and then say Friday, we primer them. if that works.
We have to have a parking lot.
Yeah, true.
So
Maybe
So
Friday
we
night,
could do it Friday evening.
evening.
And then if we had 2 days, do they have to be, sealed with the anti-graffiti sealer again? Does that work on dumpsters?
I would assume.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So-
mean, I think that
We
can
need to
usually
let
be
it- let
applied
it
as soon as the
dry
paint's
overnight.
dry, you know, which could maybe hopefully plan to happen, say Sunday evening. So that way, you know, they can
we
cure
do 1.5
overnight.
and
Mhm.
say you gotta be done by 1 PM. But you
Right,
can start as early as you want on Sunday.
but the paint has to be dry for
Right.
the sealer, I would assume.
Mhm.
And if we have sealer go on
Right.
at like 5 PM, that leaves a 4-hour turn.
Mhm.
And I mean, the transfer station may be able to leave them until early Monday morning, pick them up then and take them to their homes,
Gotcha.
which is, I think, what they're probably planning to do anyway.
Mhm. Yeah, and I guess with this timeline too, depending on kind of what we hardline it at, you know, that means artists would then know, hey, you got all day Saturday, like you can start as, you know, say early as you need, you know.
Go as late as you
Say
want.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that way they know what those
They can
constraints are.
prepare themselves.
That can actually be really fun. I know the Missoula Art Museum did a fundraiser like that. It was a museum lock-in, and they locked a bunch of artists in the museum for like 12 hours, and you couldn't leave. And so you just created a piece on site, you had 12 hours to do it, and then they auctioned it off that evening. It was really fun. And so like you can get a vibe going. Maybe we could ask food trucks.
I'm picturing fires in barrels.
Yes.
Fires and barrels.
Max is gonna play for us, right?
I'll provide the entertainment. If we can get fires in barrels, I will provide a PA system.
We have, that part's covered.
Oh, perfect.
Bring a little solo stove for you.
Yeah, just technically it's a barrel.
Yeah.
The inside.
So are you gonna say that you think we could do it in a day? The painting part, just a long day?
Yeah, I mean, maybe we might say done by noon Sunday or something. Do you think that would be possible? And then that means by the evening, then we could seal them. If that works with the transportation, or with the guys to then maybe pick them up early Monday morning.
Okay, and you guys are okay with the extra time being here? Like, would you? I know we originally talked about doing an event. You guys were gonna volunteer to work that. Can we like do some sort of schedule where you guys are all?
A shift.
Yeah.
Somebody's always here.
It's a good thought.
Yeah, sure.
We had also talked about, Spring Art Walk date is not posted. I don't know if somebody has inside scoop, but my assumption is might be, May 10th, since it was May 12th
They
last year.
wanna, I know America would like to move to First Fridays
Okay.
as a rumor. I don't know
Yeah,
for
so then
sure,
that would-
but
Oh, yeah,
they
it's still
took it
there,
over.
taking
It's no
over.
longer downtown Helena, and so I think that was a conversation that they'd had, but I don't know what their full strategy is. That was a couple months ago.
Okay.
Would you be able to reach out to them? Do you know?
Yeah.
Leah pretty well?
So then I guess my follow-up question to that would be if we prime Friday evening, and that is Spring Art Walk, does that mean some of you wouldn't be able to participate?
Yeah, good thinking.
On a Friday, evening. Probably could.
Yeah, I don't know if, I don't think I have anything going on, but I just know it is a really busy time for everybody. I'm just not sure of any other time frame that we could do it, because that parking lot's gonna be being in use any other time.
Right, no, I'm just referring specifically to spring art,
to spring art walk.
right?
That would be if it's on the 4th.
That,
Correct,
well,
yeah. Or
if,
the 3rd.
yeah, if they have that on the third.
As things lie, I'm available.
I mean, even if it wasn't the same weekend as spring art walk, I guess it wouldn't be the worst thing considering the artist wouldn't even be painting that Friday anyways. That was kind of the that timing quite works out. Or maybe it's okay if it's not the same as spring art walk then, and if it is the other weekend, that means some of us might
I
be
think that'd be
more
better. Yeah.
available. Or kind of easier to plan around because I know a lot of us with like arts related jobs, you know, things come up.
That's true. This is.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
that's what I was
texted
Just for you
Chris
guys
to
on Friday,
see
if that was spring art walk.
Totally.
should find out.
I have 2 days mainly because of weather.
Sure.
It was like May 4th and then the other one was the backup, but
Yeah, and I mean, I think we
Yeah.
can, I think most of us can try and remain flexible and that hopefully a handful of us will still be available. Depending on which weekend. And we'll be able to kind of make sure as we get closer and we can figure out which becomes which. Yeah, because especially with weather that time of year, it ends up just being, looking like it's gonna pour and rain for all day. I don't think we have a budget money for easy ups for every artist.
if I find some.
Yeah, and I think for most artists, I think even on my dumpster RFP, I had originally listed maybe like 2 dates. And then once the artists were selected, I was like, hey, here's the date. And that can then be something you guys deal with in the contract. So yeah, I guess the thought is like we could deliver those dumpsters, yeah, Friday right after work. Do a thing. Painting event all day Saturday. And then yeah, if artists need to kind of finish up, they have until noon Sunday. Because then if someone's done beforehand, you know, that's something we could seal first, you know, depending on what we can kind of get done, you know.
Prioritize them, yeah.
Totally.
So we'd need the drop cloth down Friday after work first thing.
And all those kind of sites prepped. I think for Rodney, we put them on pallets too, which
So you can get down underneath.
especially for planning and stuff, so you're not just spray painting on the parking lot.
Pallets.
Just a little bit more. Yeah, that all looks good to me. Do you mind scrolling down to the proposal submission requirements?
There's a typo on
Addenda.
addenda, yeah, second bullet.
Maybe agenda is the plural agenda.
It is.
Oh, it is.
Addenda.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never seen that
Oh.
word before.
I
learned
stand
something
corrected.
today.
That's okay.
I thought it meant agenda, sorry.
I've got another question. Are we gonna supply a template for this like we have in the past? Because I'm wondering too, it depends, like some dumpsters are taller than others.
Right.
Like yeah, I'm just wondering.
Yeah, so I was kind of looking into that today. I did my little personal, like my sketch, and then I measured the one here. Just about an average size for most of the city ones. And that's the measurements I have on here. I said that we would provide a template, but I think we can provide like a basic one, and then I do say in here that they could be bigger or smaller or shaped differently, and that the artwork needs to be able to be it's kind of the same, like we didn't have to cut single boxes because there was
Kind of a
different
slip.
sizes, but that it had to be
Those
forgot
are
how-
wrapped and these.
So
ones
maybe
will-
after the selection
Okay.
process, we can tell people, hey, just so you know, your dumpster is a little bigger.
Mhm.
If you
Exactly.
need to modify your design.
I think that would work. I think most artists are pretty, it's a lot easier to be flexible on that than in a digital graphic. And
Yeah,
then I was stretching things and
and
copying
if we give them
things.
warning,
And I think
Totally.
it's that last sentence in bullet point B, says the artist may need to alter design dimensions slightly to fit a specific size dumpster.
Yep, I
Perfect.
think that's great. Flash drive. A floppy disk.
Does it say floppy?
No, I'm teasing. The last graphic single one, so the first
Yeah.
one did.
Oh.
That's funny. I'm teasing.
Uh,
But yeah, that all looks good to me, if you don't mind scrolling just a little bit further. And so I think you guys will decide which dumpsters exactly kind of at a future date. The only reason I was kind of asking that is, say an artist, if it's one for like a park, might want to make like a park themed one. And having that location might be kind of helpful for like artist context. But also knowing that dumpsters can kind of get shuffled around all the time.
that does happen, but I think if we do that, we're limiting, you know, like if somebody's like, well, my proposal's just for the one
True.
at
Mhm.
the Civic Center.
Yeah.
Or mine is for this. I think it was more we need to pick the top 4 or 5
Mhm.
and then decide where we think
Where-
it's just like this, just like we did with the traffic signal
Absolutely.
boxes.
You're
we
totally right.
decided, see where it
Mhm.
fits, where it fits.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think, I think you're absolutely right. That's great.
Wasn't sure about the looking at number 3, designs must include all sizes of the dumpster. I wasn't sure about the lids. I've seen
Oh.
some where lids are done and some where they're not.
I would say no lids since it's plastic, so it would,
Okay.
the plastic will flake at a different rate than everything else.
And they bang
Mhm.
when they do that.
Yeah.
Those lids really bang.
And it might be good to kind of mention that, like, you know, some, like on Rodney, it's like we had all the sides of the dumpster painted, but the gestures one really only see the front. And the artists knew that and
Mhm.
kind of adjust the design accordingly, but maybe mentioning that, you know, in some instances, really, it's only the, you know, not all sides are gonna be visible. Just so they know they don't have to put all the detail into all, you know, or that could be something kind of in, when they're there, they can kind of play around with once they know the location.
yeah, I like that.
Yeah, this
The
looks
criteria
amazing.
just seems kind of like limiting our liability,
Mhm.
so we don't have to defend pot leaks or something.
Oh, God.
Not in-
Yeah, I don't think, oh yeah, it's not illegal, we can do pot leaks.
The commission would love us. Making all sorts of decisions. But this looks great, Bridget. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it'll be like Spencer's gifts.
Oh, no.
One last chance, go.
Oh, goodness.
I'm glad you guys remember Spencer's gifts.
Yeah.
After giving me, like, a
How
lot of
could I
people-
forget?
Does
Oh,
it?
yeah, oh, yeah. The Bozeman Mall.
Oh, yeah.
Live
Bozeman
Mall.
We gotta get a black light poster.
You get all sorts of things.
That's pretty much it. The rest is just the. CDs.
Okay, so payment will be made upon the completion of the project,
Very design.
so they'll need to front up all the costs for their materials.
Do they have to show us receipts for those materials, or are we just doing like 800? I think that's fine.
Yeah.
For a product, okay.
Yeah,
So they're
Less
welcome to spend
administration.
900 if they want.
yeah. I mean, some artists did, you know, last time, but that's on them, and then they have those extra supplies that, you know, to do with what they want. but I think most people are inclined to use, high grade. Do we kind of list the type of paint?
No, that was what I was just gonna ask.
Mm,
Is if you guys had a specific in mind, it doesn't matter if it's spray paint or
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
take on
say.
paint, does it matter if it's acrylic latex? I don't know, that's where I'm.
It
you
seems
guys-
like
Can we recommend like PPE? Respirators and gloves or whatever, just like say like it's recommended that you provide. That you bring PPE, because
Yeah,
some
that's
people will be using aerosol and some people will be,
Okay.
if
I don't
recall
know,
that
is
this-
that a thing? Is that a big deal for?
I think if it's outside, it's their own prerogative. One of the eye artists, he did spray paint. And I don't think he used one, but the guy that did the gestures one, just for when he was up close, used one. But that's, I think if you're a spray paint artist, you usually have
You
those
just, yeah.
things. And if you don't want to use it, that's kind of your own prerogative.
And the RFP is probably a little early to do that.
Mhm. But I would say, I think on the Rodney when we did, it was either, latex, acrylic paint. I can find that exact RFP so we can just pull it right from it. But I think it was latex, acrylic, or spray paint were the two. And as long as it's all practically the same, it seems like they're all holding up just as.
Okay.
just as
Something that
good.
will take an anti-graffiti.
Yeah, and I think they all
Yeah,
should.
you don't want to have somebody that's putting sand in the paint to make textures or
Mm,
adding extra things.
jewels.
Jewels,
I
yeah.
do have that.
The dazzle dumps.
I
That
like
is
that
in
I
idea.
do
there.
like that idea.
There is some spot where it says that you can't do anything that you're actually attaching.
Mm,
I have it in here somewhere. just
Okay,
don't be aware of it.
yeah, we still need trucks to be able to pick them up.
Have you seen any plastic dumpsters painted? And if there was issues with that, or were they all metal?
for Rodney, they were all metal. Yeah, anything plastic that I've seen or done, it just,
Yeah, okay. I know for sure one of them that we were considering is plastic, but I know we've already talked, they'll swap it out for a metal one for us.
Okay,
Yeah, this is great. Yeah, mine is just the types of paint. I don't think I have anything else. This looks really good.
do we need to approve this?
I don't believe.
You don't approve the RFP, you guys can
We can vote if we
get
want to. but-
consensus recommendations you make. But you don't have to vote on the RFP, no. It's not even.
Yeah, I think unless anyone has anything else, I think we're, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so
that.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Bridget.
you.
This is
Yeah,
amazing.
great
I'm
work.
sorry I corrected the agenda. I have some learning to do. Gotta go get a dictionary on the way.
All right, just next up on our list, I wanted just to quickly discuss, our meeting day and time. And, see if the third Wednesday of the month at 5:30 still works for everyone. And kind of just what everyone's thoughts are on that, especially as we kind of move into a new year. If we were to switch to a new time frame, I think this would be a good time, but I just wanted to get everyone's thoughts on if this time works
I'm
for
happy
you.
with anything Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, any time of day.
Those are good days for me. I usually can't be free before like 4 p.m.
I like this time. Cause I have Tuesdays and Thursdays, unless you switch it to Friday, which I don't think anybody wants Friday.
Can't do Fridays.
Yeah, it does seem like since we switched to the 5:30, it's like we haven't had it, it's been a lot easier.
It's quite easy.
Yeah, and I guess the question is like, is there any problem with that with the city staff? Cause I know admin meetings kind of can run, or commission meetings could sometimes run along at the same time.
So it is still gonna be in line with the commission or the admin meetings occasionally. And there may be an instance where staff does have to be there. But especially with the addition of a secretary position, we don't necessarily have to be
Okay.
when the exception arises.
But we sure let them be.
So you're on your own for next month.
No. I'll like be texting you,
So,
live texting.
I think it's
Okay.
for us.
Miss Helen or Chelsea, what about you guys?
I like, yeah, this is a great time
Is
for
that-
me. I might have to leave like in a few minutes because I have Nutcracker on the Rocks rehearsal. So
And it doesn't really
this
matter.
is great.
Okay, now you're a Really
Well, yeah, 5:30 to 6:30 is fine.
great. Yeah, I think this is just something, at minimum every year that we'll kind of just check in on, depending on who's, and maybe sooner depending on the new members that we add and all of that. Which, speaking of which, I think we still have one opening, about to be two openings.
Actually,
In addition to the youth.
no, it's really not on the agenda, but since we're
No
talking
more
about
youth seats.
attendance, we do have currently one, can you pull up the OneDrive? Remember? I actually just updated this today, by adding Chelsea, but there is still one vacancy right now, and then, of course, Jenny's spot will be vacant as well. You should be, well, 2 people. I'm trying to remember who, I think it's Laura. And maybe you, I can't remember, she's gonna pull it up.
Oh, for the interim terms?
Are expiring at December 31st of this year. I am sending you a link to, if you want to be reappointed, it's a different application for a reappointment. On Friday, the clerk's office will be sending out a PSA for all seats that would be considered to be filled, which would also include like the 2 seats that are currently filled, because they changed that process where they used to just, if you want to be reappointed, and they didn't really advertise it, which they finally realized was not really fair. So yes, and then it's the curriculum list right down there. Yeah, great. I just guess wanted to make sure everybody understood the process. And can you make it just a little bit bigger, Mom? That is not it. That's the wrong one. Oh, go to the current members tab. Yes, there it is. Can you make it a little bit bigger? We only need to see that top part. Okay. So that's each of your position or terms when they expire. Everybody is allowed two full terms. If you're serving in an interim, you can still have 2 full terms on top of that if you so wish. So it is, okay, I'm sorry, Helen and Laura are both serving interim. So they could actually still do 2 more full terms if they wanted. So Helen and Laura will get that email sent to them tomorrow if they so choose to reapply. Everybody here except for Jenny, who's leaving us anyway, is available for another term when their term does expire. So I had a feeling you didn't, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because you kept saying we won't be here, and I didn't know if it was you just didn't want to or you didn't know you could. Yeah,
Great.
so Amanda, 24, 25, 26, 27.
You're stuck with me.
But it's 9 members, 3 members each year is how it's set up. So cool. The current vacant position, they would most likely come in probably as an interim to finish out that 2025 term.
Sure.
And then for whoever fills Jenny's seat, it's actually the same. Wait, no, I'm looking at Jenny's. Yeah, it'd probably be the same thing. It'd probably be an interim and then available for 2 full terms.
That's someone I'm trying to recruit. So.
Oh,
hopefully she'll
amazing.
play.
Good,
Cool,
thank you.
thank you.
Mhm. Great. And so we went away with the youth seat.
Oh, yeah, that was
Did
in the
take that away.
last meeting, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes, they
I
did.
just had some trouble filling it.
That makes sense. Kids have a lot on their plates.
Yeah.
They are busy.
Yeah, I think we could quickly just brush through these last ones on the agenda. And Chelsea, if you need to pop out too, I think
Okay,
that's
yeah.
totally fine. Just public art event and promotion opportunities. Is there anything that anyone knows is coming up that we should kind of keep our ear to? I know Laura used to knows about Gold Rush Days. I was gonna ask her about that to see if that was happening this winter. But I don't think there's anything currently on the horizon, but we should keep our keep in our sights.
This Saturday, there's a fundraiser at the Holter for Last Chance Public Radio. There's a committee of people trying to get a community radio station started for Helena.
Great. No, I love that. It's good to know. Cool. And so yeah, any other communications or announcements? No. Any public comment before to round out our night?
No public comment.
Everyone looking at.
We were all like, say something.
Okay, well, with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second. Thanks, guys, and thank you so much, Jenny.
You're
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. This is, you
Yeah.
have
So much.
And you guided.
So much.
It's been a pleasure.
All the way.
Is there
Oh, yeah.
something-
Saw like 2018 data. Yeah,
Well
it's been fun.
And
I'm
thank
so
you for
impressed.
sticking it out with that
Yeah,
and getting us all
strategic
trained up.
plan and all of the ideas that are lined out, it feels so much more organized and deliberate. So, very proud of you guys.
Yeah.
See you next month.
Yes, I'll see you next month.
Or
And
in
you'll
the
email me
neighborhood.
that picture, right? Yeah, I'll see you guys around.
Yeah, thanks for
And
being
then
a
if
part
I'm
of
doing
it.
anything next weekend, I'm Cracker on the Road, it's right after Thanksgiving, so. Okay, cool. All right.
See you later, Chelsea.
I learned that Nutcracker on the Rocks started in the 70s in New Mexico. And at one point, it was one of the most popular plays in all of America, all over the country. And Helena, Montana is the only place that still does it.
That sounds great.
Really? It does sound